Ooh, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, whatever. My name's Chase Cunningham or Dr. Cunningham or Dr. Zero Trust, depending on which day of the week and the mood and a whole bunch of other different variables. Anyway, let's talk about some important stuff. Number one, this hat really shows how misshapen my head is. So there you go. Number two, someone asked me recently why they only see me wearing like one or two hoodies on all my calls and whatever else. It's because I don't give a fuck about clothes, to be perfectly frank. And number two, I have like 6 or 7 of these and they're all warm. So there you go. That's the simple answer. I don't care, and they're warm. So yes, the real question you should ask is he wearing pants? Maybe, maybe not. Anyway, let's move on and cover some cyber stuff because good lord, is there a lot of things going on. I want to start out with what would probably be, I don't know, the 10-ton giant elephant in the room because it's all over everywhere. And let me also caveat this stuff with I do not have a dog in the political fight. For the 100th time, I am not a political person. I'm a member of the Mind Your Own Fucking Business Party. I don't want to be involved with any of this stuff. I think that the phrase of you either die a hero or you live long enough to become the villain is especially true in politics. However, I'm also not an idiot. So let's just talk about something cyber related along with this Epstein stuff. And before I get into that, before I go any further down it, just because I'm an American and I can say what I think, um, I would say that it is extremely disturbing the way that our country is operating right now on a whole lot of fronts. And this goes back for years. This is not just one administration, this is multiple administrations. But I mean, the proof positive of the fact that there are the rules for thee and not for me in political classes and in financial classes, everywhere else is becoming more and more evident all the time. Um, especially like if we talk about the classified stuff that's just recently gone on, like the director of cyber person that was basically putting FOUO files into Chat GPT. There's other pieces of context that are interesting there, but the whole point of it is nothing happens to those folks. They break the law, they do illegal or wrong things, or they break protocol. It sets a bad precedent. It is unfair to people, and it's just wrong. And then you have got bigger issues that we deal with too, where people can be convicted of crimes and they get away with it, and people can defraud the government and they get away with it. The system, I think, is revealing itself to be even more fundamentally broken. There's just so much going on that should piss people off. So yes, that's all I'm going to say about that. Now this is slightly tangential. So there's an article. This is in Cyber News, and I'm going to show it here. This is Epstein. That Epstein allegedly had a quote personal hacker who was into cyber war and malware. So let's explore this a little bit. So here's the article. Epstein allegedly had a personal hacker who was into cyber war and malware. This is as of the second, couple days ago, from Jintaris Radaukis or something like that. I think if I messed it up, I'm sorry. Financier, child sex offender, serial rapist, human trafficker, and all around giant human piece of feces, Jeffrey Epstein had many faces. Now, a new batch of files suggest that he was also interested in hacking and malware. I don't doubt that at all. Some key takeaways. Newly surfaced FBI informant files allege Jeffrey Epstein employed a highly skilled, quote, personal hacker involved in zero-day exploits, cyber surveillance, and dealings with governments and militant groups. Shocking. The hacker, whose identity is redacted, like the majority of the rest of the shit in those files, but widely speculated to be Vincenzo Loso, later became a senior figure at CrowdStrike. Wow. Blurring lines between elite cybersecurity crime and intelligence work. Okay, that sorry folks, that I'm not, the Epstein stuff makes me happy or whatever. That doesn't, that's terrible. But just the fact that this dude was a is it CrowdStrike or whatever, I'm stealing that. So yeah. While many claims remain unverified, Epstein's emails show a sustained interest in hacking, malware, and cyber warfare, reinforcing theories that technology played a role in his broader influence. You think? A report from an FBI informant filed in 2017 has revealed the existence of a, quote, personal hacker in the employ of Epstein. The name of the hacker has been redacted alongside many other individual data points from the informant, blah, blah, blah. So here's the redacted part. Quote, redacted, which is blanked out the name, was Epstein's personal hacker. Redacted was an Italian citizen born in Calabria who developed zero-day exploit and offensive cyber tools and sold tools to the government, the document reads. Redacted established the Saudi government cyber surveillance program. Redacted sold a 0-day to Hezbollah, and redacted, was known as the first person to hack and find vulnerabilities in BlackBerry and iOS. And here's the actual FBI secret no foreign report. You can look it up and go look at that thing. The alleged hacker was known for finding Firefox vulnerabilities and, as per the informant, surrounded himself with powerful friends like Epstein, a man of many talents. Additionally, I'm guessing Epstein is what they're talking about here, leveraged his connections with his billionaire friends, and 3 of them backed him financially. Oh, this is the hacker. All right, so sorry. One of the billionaires, but not Epstein, another one, allegedly provided seed money for the hacker's new company. The firm was acquired by CrowdStrike in 2017. And the hacker even held the position of senior director at that particular cybersecurity giant, CrowdStrike. According to the informant, the hacker had links to several old school European hackers and was connected to organized crime and terrorist organizations. They're very good at finding vulnerabilities. I love that they have a picture of CrowdStrike. That's it right there. I'm sorry, I'm not going to stop laughing at this. The informant claimed that Hezbollah, the organization, the hacker provided the militant organization with a 0-day, sent him a trunk of cash. So this hacker person that they're sort of referring to, the redacted, also was noted to sell 0 days to organizations that are super awesome like Hezbollah. And Hezbollah apparently sent him a, quote, trunk of cash to Italy. The hacker then drove the money to Switzerland and deposited in a bank account, something out of like a movie almost. The hacker also allegedly owned a theater company in California, using it to launder that 0-day money. The document goes on to outline how the individuals allegedly sold his exploits to both the UK and US governments, but not Asian countries. Again, according to the FBI informant, the hacker was, quote, deeply racist. So he's good with selling stuff to Hezbollah, but boy, he doesn't like people that are Asian. The hacker was once asked for help by the Italian government, declined because, quote, he thought the government was incompetent. He was also allegedly anti-Semitic and would never travel to Russia as he was terrified of it. Yes, okay. Oh, this is awesome. This may be the best report I've read all year. While the name of the, quote, personal hacker was redacted, enough details remain, yeah, totally, to help piece together his identity. And this is just from their reporting, so don't come at me. It's not slander. This is in the fucking news. According to several well-informed sources, the individual referred to in the FBI reports is Vincenzo Lozzo, the Calabrian-born founder of mobile security company Hyperlane, which was acquired by CrowdStrike in 2017. It's right there in black and white. Also held the position of senior director at CrowdStrike until 2021 and is currently CEO of identity firm /ID. He has an X account where he occasionally posts regular cybersecurity-related content. Importantly, almost all of the above is just what the informant told the FBI. It's unclear whether the agency had verified those statements. So there's some stuff there, okay? However, the same informant also states that Epstein was Russian President Vladimir Putin's wealth manager and provided the same service for Zimbabwe's President Robert Mugabe, who is a super awesome human. Not. Still, Lotso's name does appear in several other Epstein documents, including a 2015 email where Lotso is seen trying to get Epstein to attend Black Hat. Wow. His LinkedIn page says Lotso has been a board member of Black Hat since 2011. EX Underground, an anonymous threat analyst group, which I look at their stuff, speculates that Epstein visited several Black Hat conferences, but the email doesn't say that. However, in 2009, an email to Boris, where they have a link to it right there, Epstein writes, quote, this is Epstein, quote, I think we should find great hackers at the Black Hat convention. Yes, that might mean he went to the conference, though. Okay, interest in cyber warfare. Furthermore, Epstein's emails show he kept abreast of security-related technology, including cyber warfare articles. So what? And sought to connect private money with public surveillance opportunities. A few emails from 2009, for example, show that Epstein was concerned about a macOS keylogger and complained that, quote, keyboards are hardwired. Yeah. In 2013, he wanted to talk about malware with Joy Ito, a Japanese venture capitalist. So what? Another email to Epstein from 2010, this time from Al Sekel, the controversial author, explains how, quote, they were hacking Wikipedia to remove the financier's mugshot from the page and replace it with a photo Epstein himself sent. So he wanted a better headshot, I guess. Epstein also had his description as a, quote, sex offender removed from Wikipedia. Earlier reports say Epstein frequently emailed articles about cyber warfare, Russian nanotechnology, and Unit 8200, which is Israelis' place. In 2019, the New York Times quoted a shadowy hacker who claimed to have Epstein's sex tapes, an entire archive of the financier's data stored on encrypted drives overseas. One unproven theory claims Epstein's archive of compromising content helped him run a sprawling blackmail operation. Yeah, you think? So who was the alleged hacker? According to the 2017 FBI informant file, Epstein employed an Italian hacker born in Calabria who sold offensive tools to governments. While the name is redacted, Details, such as the sale of his company to CrowdStrike, point to Vincenzo Lozzo, a security researcher and former CrowdStrike senior director. What kind of tools did Epstein's hacker develop? The informant claims the hacker developed zero-day exploits for iOS, BlackBerry, and Firefox. He allegedly established a cyber surveillance program for the Saudi government and sold exploits to the US and UK governments, as well as Hezbollah. Did Epstein actually use hackers to change his Wikipedia page? The unequivocal answer here in this article is yes. Emails from 2010 suggest that associates targeted Wikipedia to sanitize Epstein's public image. The corresponding details talk about how they removed his mugshot, replaced it with a preferred photo, and deleted the quote word sex offender. Yeah, so holy giant monkey balls. I'll put the link in here. You can see it. This is not me doing anything slanderous. This is stuff that's been reported. So go after the folks that are reporting on you if you're not happy about it or whatever. But that's the news. I can't help it. That's what's out there in the news. And of course, my mouse dies right now. Okay, so let's go on to other things. Wow, that's pretty bonkers, though. Another article here, 8.7 billion records spilled inside the massive Chinese data leak. The exposed Elasticsearch cluster, which contained over 160 indices, held billions of primarily Chinese records ranging from national citizen ID numbers to various business records. It's among the single largest Elasticsearch exposures ever recorded. CyberNews researchers discovered 8.7 billion exposed Chinese records on an unsecured Elasticsearch cluster. The leak contains national ID numbers, home addresses, plaintext passwords, and social media identifiers. The exposed database remained publicly accessible for 3 weeks before being closed, which gave people lots of time to scrape the data. And researchers believe the dataset was intentionally aggregated on bulletproof hosting. Well, it wasn't that fucking bulletproof, was it? Suggesting that data broker activity or malicious intent. Let's see. Massive data cluster was discovered on the first days of 2026 and remained open for over 3 weeks. While there are no indications that the data was abused by malicious actors, if our researchers found it, then there's no reason somebody else couldn't too. Quote, despite the short exposure window, the scale of the data set means that automated scraping during this period could have resulted in widespread secondary dissemination. So exposed to the internet, people crawl the internet, suck that stuff up. God only knows where it's went. Here's some screenshots. ID card, phone, real name, phone, timestamp. Okay, nothing too crazy interesting, but it's from China. So that's kind of a whoopsie-doo. Let's see. What information has the data leak exposed? Since exposed records are spread across multiple indices, they vary widely. The exposed records range from full names and poorly protected account passwords to messaging and social media identifiers. According to the team, the exposed data aggregates personal identifiers, contact information, blah, blah, blah. The geographic distribution of leaked records is limited predominantly focusing on mainland China. Okay. Let's see. So PII that's there. Social media, email, usernames, references, authentication information, plain text and weekly protected passwords, corporate and business records. Looks like in this screenshot, you can see some name and license and things like that. Yeah, researchers note that the exposed cluster was highly organized and segmented with thematic indices adhering to data type. For example, the theme observed phone-centric, ID-centric accounts and other types of data sets. So basically, this is a legit probably data set that someone architected and just screwed up the configuration. So what are the implications? Even though the 8.7 billion record strong data set is no longer accessible, it was open for over 3 weeks, giving malicious actors ample time to scrape it. Our researchers believe attackers could utilize the data for multiple purposes, also water wet, fire hot. For one, the exposed records include plain text credentials, some with shitty passwords. This type of data is extremely useful for account takeovers. So I guess you could turn the game over on some of the Chinese folks. This is from Vilas Petkauskas, which deputy editor. So interesting article. Looks like maybe somebody in China is screwed up, but in China, if they did this and they got caught, they've probably already been, let's say, removed from the planet somewhere or another. So sucks for them. Cybersecurity news. Hundreds of exposed Claude-bot gateways leave API keys and private chats vulnerable. If you haven't been hearing about this, you've been living under a rock. Claude-bot, the surging open source AI gateway, faces escalating security concerns with 900 plus unauthenticated instances exposed online and multiple code flaws that enable credential theft and remote code execution. Claudebot is an open source personal AI assistant that integrates with messaging platforms like WhatsApp, Telegram, Slack, Discord, blah, blah, blah. It features a gateway for control plane operations, including WebSocket handling, tool execution, and credential management, and a web-based UI for configuration. Deployed via NPM and Node.js, it defaults to loopback binding port 18789. So if you see that port, know that. But supports remote access via Tailscale or reverse proxies like Nginx and Caddy. Jameson O'Reilly detailed the issue in a January 23rd, 2026 X thread, highlighting misconfigurations in the agent gateway. They used Shodan to query for the control UI's unique HTML tag, Claude bot control, and found hundreds of public instances. And you know what? Because that's there and I can do that and it's not illegal, I'm going to throw that into my own version of Shodan in a second and see if we still find results. Let's see. Yep. So there's the screenshot from Shodan, 900 plus, 954, 169 in the US. Some had authentication, others left configs, Anthropic API keys, Telegram, Slack. So I can't not do this right now. So this is me typing. You're not going to see this because I'm not trying to get myself in trouble. But let's just do the checkity check and see what we find. And I'm throwing that one search term in there. Oh, 668 still out there. Cool. And let's see, OpenClaw 500, Nginx, BNC, which is even, wow. Okay, let's look at organizations because might be some fun organizations that are here in this particular thingy. Let's see, hosting, SolaDrive, Beijing. All right, let's go back and look at the US. All right, hosting is primarily where that's showing up. But CloudBot is all over the place. Yeah, man. Okay. There's all caching stuff. Dear alert, just going 3 pages deep here. Yeah, okay, fine. All right, cool. So that's how hard it was for me to do the same thing that they just did. Yeah. Let's see. The issue stems from localhost auto-approval and CloudBot's auth logic designed for local dev, but exploitable behind reverse proxy. The proxy forwards traffic via localhost 127.0.0.1, which people know, bypassing checks since gateway.trusted proxies defaults to empty, ignoring X forward for. So if you're not familiar with what this is saying, it's basically saying that what goes on here is that this is pretty simple to redirect. And, here's in other words, this is pretty bonehead simple. I'll just leave it at that. Don't go off and do these things, by the way. So yeah, CloudBot. If you got CloudBot or you trying to use it, be careful. Sky News, the British MS technology chief quits less than a year after cyber attack. Josie Smith is stepping down as MNS chief technology officer 9 months after the cyber attack. Another of M&S or Marks and Spencer's most senior technology executives leaving the company less than a year after its operations were devastated by cyber attack. Josie Smith, the retail chief technology officer, stepping down 18 months after joining the company. Her departure was disclosed internally in a memo, which said she had, quote, decided to leave M&S. Ms. Smith, who previously worked at BT Group and Vodafone, was replaced by Darren Gibson. Okay, whatever. Her exit comes 4 months after Rachel Higham, M&S chief digital and technology officer, also left the business. M&S thing cost hundreds of millions of pounds. Let's see. I want to know what they get paid though. Josie Smith, chief technology officer. Let's just see what they get paid. Pay scale. What's a pay scale for them folks get? Yeah. Public pay scale. Let's see. Let's just see what retailers' chief technology officers' pay scale is, because I just kind of am interested now. So it looks like on average, it's about 200 Gs. Let's see, chief technology officer. Yeah, looks like the highest is around 500K. So, okay, whatever. Anyway, they're leaving. So pack your shit and go home. BBC has an article, 10 found guilty of cyberbullying Brigitte Macron, which is the French lady. 10 people have been found guilty of cyberbullying Brigitte Macron, the wife of French President Emmanuel Macron, by a Paris court. The defendants were accused of spreading false claims about her gender and sexuality, as well as making malicious remarks about the 24-year age gap between the couple. Okay. Most of the defendants were handed suspended prison sentences of up to 8 months, but one was jailed immediately for failing to attend court. The judge said the 8 men and 2 women had acted with clear desire to do harm, making remarks online that were degrading and insulting. 2 of the defendants, self-styled independent journalist Nacha Ray, internet fortune teller Amandine Roy, were found guilty of slander in 2024 for claiming that France's first lady had, quote, never existed. Okay, whatever. They said her brother Jean-Michel Trogneau had changed gender and started using her name. They were later cleared on appeal. The argument used by the appeals court in clearing them was that saying someone had changed gender was not necessarily an attack on their honor. So, wow, France has some crazy, weird rules about stuff. The Macron are now taking that case to the High Court of Appeal. Quote, Most important things are the prevention courses and the suspension of some of their accounts of the perpetrators. Tiffane Alzier, Brigitte Macron's daughter from a previous marriage, previously told the trial that the cyberbullying had negatively affected her mother's health and living conditions. She said her mother, quote, has to be careful about her choices of outfits or posture. She knows perfectly well that her image will be used to back those theories. I guess that she has some transgender stuff or whatever. While her mother had, quote, learned to live with it, Algier said she suffered from repercussions on her grandchildren who were taunted at school. Okay. Um, let's see. Monday's ruling in France is a forerunner of a much bigger trial in the U.S., where the Macrons have filed a defamation lawsuit against right-wing influencer Candace Owens, who has voiced conspiracy theories about the First Lady's gender. Why? Who gives a fuck? Like, why do you care? They allegedly said that she, quote, disregarded all credible evidence disproving her claim in favor of platforming known conspiracy theorists and proven defamers. So basic shit that a lot of these people do on YouTube. um, Owens has regularly repeated the claims in her podcast, social media channels, and March 24 stated that she would stake her, quote, entire professional reputation on her belief that the First Lady of France is, quote, in fact, a man. Wow. Let's see. So the presidential couple in France were initially advised that the best course was to ignore the online gossip because go to law would simply amplify it. But last year there was a radical change of course. Macron decided that the scale of the online attacks was now too large to ignore. So at risk of exposing their private selves to a U.S. court, they determined to push back against the conspiracy theorist. A conspiracy theory claiming that Brigitte Macron is a transgender woman has circulated since 2017. The couple has been married since 2007, and she's older than him. Again, like on the scale of give a fuck, like who fucking cares? You could be married to a billy goat. I don't give a shit. Like, why? Why would you even throw this into the mix? There's nothing for anyone. This like, I don't get it. Sorry, I just don't. And I definitely don't understand why someone would stake their quote entire professional career on that belief, because who gives a fuck? Last time I checked, I live in the US. I don't care about what goes on in France. Anyway, CBS News. Trump briefed on military cyber psychological operations for Iran, sources say. This is from James Laporta. President Trump has been briefed on a wide array of military and covert tools that can be used against Iran that go well beyond conventional airstrikes. The president's national security team will hold a meeting at the White House on Tuesday, which was yesterday, to discuss updated Iran options, according to several other sources familiar with the matter. It's unclear whether the president himself will be in attendance. Well, that seems like that would be important, but hey, whatever. As anti-regime protests sweep Iran, Mr. Trump has warned for weeks that he may intervene if Iranian security forces kill protesters, which they have, like 40,000 of them. He told reporters Sunday that Iranian leadership indicated that it wants to negotiate, but the U.S. military is, quote, looking at some very strong options. I mean, we did fly like B-2s over their airspace and bomb the fuck out of places, so they should at least know that we can do that. Air power and long-range missiles remain central to any potential military response in Iran, but Pentagon planners have also presented cyber operations options, which, if you haven't noticed what's going on over there, like the internet has been shut off, so there's some other questions to be asked here. The official said cyber and psychological operations can occur simultaneously with traditional military force. Yes, that's been happening since World War I, but anyway. The two American officials emphasized that no final decision has been made and that diplomatic channels remain open. Still, the expanded menu of options suggests that Washington is preparing for scenarios in which conflict could extend beyond battlefield strikes to include sustained digital influence campaigns. Yes. Let's see. The White House press secretary said that diplomacy is always the first option, okay, and said that, quote, what you're hearing publicly from the Iranian regime is quite different from the messages the administration is receiving privately, which is pretty common. What goes on, you have folks like, posturing publicly, but actually on the back channel, they're pleading for their lives because they know they might get fucking blown out of the sky. Protests have taken to the streets in all 31 provinces in Iran for 2 weeks. At least 544 have been killed that we have reporting on. According to the human rights activist news, agents found protesters who were killed died by live ammunition. Predominantly close range. Yikes. Late last week, Iranian authorities cut phone and internet services across the capital during the protests, according to internet monitoring organization NetBlocks. On Sunday, Iran's state-controlled media took the unusual step of airing video showing mass casualties in an outside morgue in a Tehran suburb, a move that may have been an attempt to show sympathy to protesters, suggest that radical actors inspired by messages of support are behind the violence, not the Iranian government. Okay. Yeah. So what you should take away from there is shenanigans. And yes, we can use cyber honestly as a first strike weapon, as the bridge between espionage and kinetic action. And if there was ever a good time to push influence operations and potentially topple a regime that is not necessarily awesome. I'm not an expert on Iran, but it seems like they're doing some things that are not cool. Now would be a good time to leverage said influence operations, and cyber and digital is a great way to leverage those things remotely. That's just my 2 cents. Let's see. CERT Polska details coordinated cyber attacks on 30 plus wind and solar farms. CERT Polska, the Polish Computer Emergency Response Team, okay, revealed that coordinated cyber attacks targeted more than 30 wind and photovoltaic farms, a private company from the manufacturing sector, and a large combined heat and power plant. Yeah. So the company is called Photovoltaic Farms. Okay, whatever. The incident took place on December 29th, 2025. The agency attributed attacks to a threat cluster dubbed Static Tundra, which is also tracked. Here's where we go fucking nuts here, which is also tracked as, quote, Berserk Bear, Blue Kraken, Crouching Yeti, Dragonfly, Energetic Bear, Ghost Blizzard, formerly Bromine, and Havox. Who the fuck knows what any of this stuff is? Static Tundra is also assessed to be linked to Russia's FSB, Unit 16. It's worth noting recent reports from ESET and Dragos attributed the activity with moderate confidence to different Russian states. So, yeah. All attacks had a purely destructive objective, from CERT Polska said in a published report Friday, although attacks on renewable energy farms disrupted communication between these facilities and the distribution system operator, they did not affect the ongoing production of electricity. Similarly, the attacks on the combined heat and power plant did not achieve the attacker's intended effect of disrupting heat supply. Okay, so again, just for messing around, let's just go off and look at solar as literally one word inside of Shodan. Solar. Oh, 4,037 of them. And the first one I get actually comes up here with an RDP session. Administrators logged in. Yeah, there's those. Okay, let's go look at, I don't know, United States. Why not? And let's see if we can find any really good, interesting organizations here. Let's see. A lot of these are honeypots, but going further down, looks like we've got LV Petroleum, uh, Telstar, University of California at Berkeley. Yeah. So there you go. That's how hard it was for me to find RDP sessions for solar stuff. Hey, Poland. Actually, let's go look at Poland just for the sake of, I mean, if we're here, we might as well go try that out and see what we find. Let's go back one more and we'll go and see if we find anything for Poland. Let's see. Poland, Poland, Poland. Maybe they did a good job. I don't see a whole lot. All right, so at least they're not talking to Shoden too much. Cool. US, Dutch, Czech, Germany, Britain, Italy, Japan, Spain, France. Oh, there we go. 77 that I see now in Poland. Solar. And just for the hell of it, let's look at some of these organizations that are here. Ooh, a SQL server from 2018 is one of those things. Let's see. Hardcom. Solar companies. Okay. So some of these are pretty legit. Yeah. So Poland, you got some solar issues. There we go. And I'm not showing you those because I ain't getting myself in trouble. Cybersecurity dive. National Cyber Director solicits industry help in fixing regulations, threat information sharing. Didn't we already do this 4 or 5 times in the past 10 years, 12 years, 15 years with Infragard and CERT and CISA and blah, 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 blah. But let's do it one more time. Sure, why not? The U.S. government needs the business community's help crafting the right cybersecurity strategy. Okay, we need input from you, Sean Cairncross said. You know your regulatory scheme better than I do, where there's friction, where there's frustration, information sharing, what sorts of information is shared, blah, blah. Oh, Lord. The White House wants to revise the current patchwork of cybersecurity regulations, quote, so that form follows function rather than the rules being a compliance checklist. Okay, maybe somebody's listening a little bit. The administration tends to work with companies to, quote, figure out a way that industry can best align its resources with the assets that it needs to protect. Jesus Christ. Administration officials have had a lengthy engagement with the private sector as they developed the strategy, Cairncross added. Great. The strategy will also focus on modernizing the federal government, securing critical infrastructure, building cybersecurity workforce, maintaining U.S. leadership on emerging technology, deterring foreign cyber attacks. Okay, so let me just say this. I literally took that section that they just said right there and I put that into a thing and said, how many times has this showed up in the last decade? That exact quote has showed up hundreds of times across all of the administrations for the last 10 to 15 years. Therefore, No one is doing anything that's actually any different. They're just reparroting the same shit and expecting a different outcome. Um, the deterrence pillar is likely to be a top priority for the Trump administration. Speaking at the event, Karen Cross bemoaned the fact that U.S. policy towards countering hackers has for decades, quote, been very reactive. And he said the Trump administration is interested in finding new ways to, quote, dent the incentive to engage that behavior. The incentive is political power, financial power, global dominance, economic dominance, those types of things. So until you take away those incentives, which we can't because it's outside of our control, unless we're going to start invading other countries, maybe after Greenland or wherever we're invading next, that's not going to make a lick of difference. So yeah. All right. Politico. And again, I'm not a political person. I'm just reading what people say. So hot mess. Former Trump cyber leader slams DHS leadership void. Bridget Bean, the former acting director of CISA, said in an exclusive interview that without permanent leadership agencies under DHS are, quote, not working. Bridget Bean, the former acting head of CISA in the early months of the second Trump administration, is raising serious concerns about the lack of Senate-confirmed senior leadership at DHS, arguing that it's hamstringing DHS' ability to execute the president's priorities. Quote, I am really concerned about the lack of permanent confirmed people, she said in her first interview about federal agencies under DHS since retiring last year. Quote, you've got to get leaders in there. She added that having officials confirmed by the Senate is, quote, very difficult than someone in an acting capacity who is serving in the role. Okay, it's not the same. Bean shared her perspective on the department's leadership crisis after Politico approached her for a comment on her participation in a, quote, signal group chat where she wrote on November 11th to the current and former Trump DHS political appointees that the department was, quote, a hot mess. Yeah. A participant in the group recently showed Politico the message. So friends in DC, right? They'll stab you right in the back. Quote, my comments about DHS as a hot mess is if you don't have permanent leadership, you are not working, she said. Quote, it's just so much more important for the organization to have it. Following the publication of this story, a spokesperson for DHS said in a statement that Bean's criticisms, quote, are clearly unfounded in reality. Given the historic record-breaking year the department just had in the first year of this administration. So there's your spin. Marcy McCarthy, Director of Public Affairs at CISA, said in a separate statement, also sent after publication, that, quote, since the beginning of this administration, CISA has turned a corner and returned to our statutory core mission. Since January 2025, we issued 38 joint cybersecurity advisories with law enforcement and international partners and provided threat intelligence guidance to combat evolving threats and protect critical infrastructure. Quote, we remain steadfast in our mission and focused on President Trump's policies for maximum security for all Americans. Rah. Here you go. CISA's Deputy Director, Mahu Gautam Makala took the role of acting director last May, though his tenure has not been entirely smooth, that he did fail a polygraph test, and he happens to have uploaded sensitive files to a public version of ChatGPT. Waka, waka, waka. Yeah, okay, so there's that. I swear. And finally, lawmakers to question water utilities on cyber threats. EPA under both Trump and Biden administrations has sought to address the risk of cybersecurity attacks against the water sector. So it's going to make me pay for this because behind a paywall, which they suck. But anyway, let's break this down. A Senate panel will convene Wednesday to hear from a cybersecurity expert and two water utilities about threats facing water infrastructure. The Environment and Public Works Committee hearing will seek to identify strategies to make the water sector more resilient against cyber attacks, which have become more common in recent years. The meeting could be an opportunity for bipartisan consensus. Good luck with that shit. As lawmakers generally agree on the need to protect water. Oh, yeah, you think we need water? Water good? Sure. So let's just do a little shouldering for water in the U.S. and see what we find there, because it wouldn't possibly be that easy, right? Water. Oh, goodness. Let's go look in the United States. 80. Let's see what sort of old shit we have in there. Windows 10, Ubuntu, Windows XP, organization. Let's see. And I'm going to scroll past the ones I know are throwaways. SpaceX, you're there with a water problem. Knoxville Utility in Kentucky. You guys need to fix your water stuff. Shenandoah water supply. Jackson Energy Authority. 7-Eleven. More here. Hurricane Electric, Arnold Oil. And just because these are fun to look at, these are not just BS things. Like I see the tank volume. Let's see, volume, usage, height, temp. And what else can we get here? Let's see, host name information. Here's one, like this is the type of stuff you get if you know the right electrons to kind of tickle. Let's see, this one is on a highway in Opelousas, Louisiana. There's the phone number. There's the zip code. Here's the tank inventory with the water and the temp. Yeah, but hey, lawmakers, let's have more meetings and more conversations about things that we should do to secure the water supply system. How about this? How about we give CISA the actual authority it needs to do the job to scan the internet like I just did from my house? And then we change things up and maybe use, I don't know, like a tax benefit system that's been suggested to offset the cost of fixing those things. Or you do the punitive measure. And if they are doing critical infrastructure and it's been out there and totally fucked up for more than, I don't know, 12 months, you fine them. And then you go forward from there. And then you rescan the internet every X number of days. Like you guys have hundreds, if not thousands, of people sitting at that office downtown. And what are they doing? Like, this ain't hard to fix. We don't need another meeting. We don't need another committee. We don't need another conversation. It's simple. Really, it is. Just do it. Okay, so it's going to be a bumpy 2026. Things are even further off the rails than they were before, but what are you going to do? As always, none of this is me slandering somebody or someone or some organization. This is just the information on the internet. It's all publicly available. You can go look at it if you'd like to and do whatever the hell you want with it. I'm not suggesting that you do. I'm just saying that you could. So there you go. Don't send me cease and desist letters. I've got a stack of them and I don't care. I use them to light cigars. So anyway, RSA is coming up. Zero Trust World's coming up. There's some other events coming up. Black Hat, DEF CON, those folks. It's going to be a busy 2026, y'all. So stay safe, really. And as always, stay smart, stay safe, stay secure. If I can help, please reach out to me. I will catch you on the next one.